So now that we have our isolates labeled, we're going to set up our tubes. So we have one TSI and LIA tube for each isolate. And so we're going to have up to 6 isolates. And then of course we have our controls in the back. Each isolate is going to need its own label for each tube. So you're going to have 2 stickers for sample 1 for isolate A, 2 stickers for isolate B, C, D, and E. And then E and F we'll do tomorrow once the BSA plate comes back out of incubation. For sample 2, we chose all 6 isolates on the first day. We will still put the BSA back into incubation, but we're going to streak our slants first. So whenever we read our slants, we're going to be looking at 2 different types of reactions. We're going to look at an aerobic reaction here along the slant and an anaerobic reaction here in the butt of the tube. So when we label our slants, we want to make sure to label them pretty high so that we can really see those reactions when the slants come out of incubation tomorrow. So I just like to label them nice and high. So 1 set of tubes for each isolate. So I'm going to go ahead and label the rest of the tubes. So now that all of my tubes are labeled, I'm going to go ahead and streak my isolate to my tubes. There are a couple things you want to remember when transferring from a colony to a slant. The first thing is that you do not want to dig into the auger. You just want to touch the surface of the colony to move on to the slant. So try really to be careful on to not dig or scoop the colony. You just need to tap it. You just need to touch it. So we're going to get the colony on the end of our needle, and then we're going to lift our tubes up in tandem together. And this is the way that I like to do it. You can also set the caps on the table right side up while you're getting used to or getting comfortable with the process. So we're going to start with a red-orange slant. We're going to streak down the slant, and then we're going to stab into the auger. Now when we stab into the auger, what we're doing here is we're creating an anaerobic environment for the sample to incubate within. So we don't want to stab all the way to the bottom because we don't want the air to potentially create pockets around our auger. So we're going to streak down, and then we're going to stab about 90% of the way through, but you don't want to touch all the way to the bottom. And then also keep in mind when you stab, you don't want to stab along the glass. You want to stab in the auger more towards the center. So just touching the colony. There you go. I really like picking colonies with black centers because I can clearly see when I have it on my needle. But, you know, not all typical colonies will have black centers, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to streak down the slant, and then I'm going to stab the butt if it'll let me. There we go. All right. Then with the same needle, you're going to do stab, stab, streak. So we're going to stab. My other one is getting in the way. So stab, stab, and then pull up. Same needle, same colony. This slant will represent a reaction together. So you want to make sure you use the same colony together. Moving on to sample number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to do them one at a time this time so I can try to show it a little bit easier. But same thing, I'm going to grab my colony. I'm going to start with the TSI tube. streak, and then stab. There we go. And then stab twice and then streak up the slant. So first stab, about 90% of the way, and then stab again, and then pull up. There we go. Same needle, don't change needles in between, don't flame needles in between. You're looking for one colony to get a set of reactions. And we're gonna get multiple reactions here because these slants are gonna incubate in an aerobic and an anaerobic environment.